All right, it is 5:30 on January 9th, 2025. And I'm going to call this meeting, the Morton County Commission regular meeting, to order. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the roll call. Commissioner Morrell?
Here.
Commissioner Tokash?
Present.
Commissioner Buckley?
Here.
Commissioner Zachmeyer?
Yes.
And myself, Commissioner Boehm. We also have Auditor Rowan up here at the desk, and State's Attorney Copy, and Sheriff Kirkmeyer in the back of the room. Next will be the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, noting that item 5 has been stricken, presentation from our planning and zoning, our planning officer. I motion to approve the agenda as amended, as changed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as changed. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the minutes from the previous meeting of December 26, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the December 26, 2024 Morton County Commission regular meeting. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, Commissioner Morrell, you had bills this month?
Yes, bills were in order with the exception of one packet with the credit cards, which will be pushed back out to that department for their missing receipts on a couple of them. So get those corrected and get those resubmitted, but everything else was in order, so make a motion to approve all other bills with the exception of that one department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bills except for the one that was pulled. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Morrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Buckley?
Yes.
Commissioner Zachmeyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Tokash?
Yes.
And myself is yes. So the motion carries. All right, we will move right into our agenda tonight. First item would be the reorganization of the County Commission Board. Turn the mic over to Auditor Rowan.
Are there any nominations for chair?
Madam Auditor, I would nominate Nathan Boehm for chairman.
Okay, we have a nomination for Commissioner Boehm. Any other nominations?
Madam Auditor, I would nominate Ray Morrell.
A nomination for Commissioner Morrell. Any others? Any other nominations? If no other nominations, I would entertain a motion to cease nominations.
Move we cease nominations.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to cease nominations. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so I will pass out little slips of paper and everybody can vote for either Boehm or Morrell. Here's the official ballots.
Oops, here.
Who's got the hat?
Your hat's too dirty.
Yeah.
And our chair is Commissioner Boehm. Now we will take nominations for vice chair.
Madam Auditor, I would nominate Jackie Buckley as vice chairman.
We have a nomination for Commissioner Buckley. Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations?
Move that nomination cease
And cast
and
unanimous
cast
ballot.
unanimous ballot.
It's been moved to cease nominations and cast unanimous ballot. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved to cease nominations and cast unanimous ballot. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, Commissioner Buckley is our vice chair. And I will turn it back over to Chair Boehm.
Thank you, Auditor Roan. Next is our portfolio assignments. So how do you guys want to go about doing these?
Mr. Chairman, and I say it virtually every year, and I'll be saying it again, I think that when it comes to portfolios, unless it's absolutely required by state law, only one county commissioner should be assigned. That way, it would avoid open records violations if one commissioner would call another over a simple question. And I feel very strongly about that. And the only two boards that require two county commissioners by state law is county parks and county planning and zoning. But there's a few, that I think we have two to roads, two, I think was at one time to emergency services.
Just one now.
Okay.
Just one to emergency services, two is still on roads.
I think that needs to be changed. I think one county commissioner on roads is plenty, and we can still add another civilian.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would disagree. Our road commission has been very vocal about making sure that we have two commissioners on that board because of the size of the budget. And in the past, Ron Langang and myself, ex-county commissioner, were very careful about making sure we didn't talk to each other about roads if we talked to each other. It's really pretty easy to do. The road commission meetings are all advertised, and there's somebody taking minutes, and so it's always an official meeting whether we're talking to each other or not.
I would support that as well, Mr. Chair, because again, we're looking at 1,800 plus miles of road in Morton County, and having two commissioners that can represent in addition to the citizens. It allows our citizens, our constituents, that much more of a reach out whenever there's a question or concern or need.
And it's just, Mr. Chairman, as a reminder, to be
Well-
careful on your portfolios and talking to each other so you don't violate open meetings.
And I think you do, even I'm taking calls on roads with just one, it would be quite onerous. So I don't disagree with having two, and I take your point also, though. Definitely be careful on how you handle the conversation. Looking at the list here, though, we do not have the Bismarck Man and Detention Center on here.
I actually made note on that.
There's, and that actually has two, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. By the charter for the BMDC itself. And I have that as far as with the sheriff's portfolio. I sit on that committee.
And-
But in the past, it's also been Commissioner Langang, so if Mr. Tokash and I were actually just talking about that before the meeting started, making sure that that gets noted, if we want to ensure that he's also assigned on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the judicial portion of that portfolio should go with the courthouse. Normally, the judicial,
The sheriff's part.
it's right now it's connected to sheriff and judicial. I would remove judicial from being linked to the sheriff and move it to the county courthouse portfolio, which I would have. But when it comes to chambers, courtrooms, it usually goes with the courthouse portfolio. So to have judicial with whoever has courthouse would make sense.
Mr. Chairman, that's my question. What does the judicial portfolio, what does that all entail?
It's been combined from the point that I started, and for whatever reason, it wasn't listed together. But again, just working with, for judicial issues, whether it's court needs or relevancy through legislation as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to take that, because when it comes to the chambers things, it's usually a discussion between Auditor Roan and I if there's a chambers issue, or even to do the courtroom grants. Not all the time, but the majority of the time it is. I would take judicial.
Okay,
I'd be fine with that.
okay. Put judicial under Commissioner Zachmeyer. I was gonna ask one more question here. I had made a note at one point that Council on Aging, I scratched that and it called Morton County Housing Authority. Was there?
Yeah, there was.
I was at a loss of why I did that again.
Langy and I switched that 2 years ago. I don't think it got listed correctly on the website, but we did switch that. So I have Council of the Aging, and then he took, so again, if Mr. Tokash here would maintain just working with the Housing Authority as his portfolio then as well.
The Housing Authority.
Correct. But also.
That's what I scratched. Okay.
Yep, so it was where I had the Housing Authority and he had Council of the Aging, and we just swapped that a couple years ago.
So what's community action, Ray?
Community Action actually does a lot with the people with how to term it correctly here. So the weatherization for those low income, they'll come and help weatherize their homes. They do stuff with child development, with daycare support, daycare resources for children. Number of elements that the biggest spending piece is with weatherization, and then with the child care piece. So they are a separate board, a separate body, and again, Commissioner Tokash and I were actually just talking about that as well, if he'd be willing to take that one, and then maybe in lieu, if he'd be willing to relinquish the tax office or finance and taxation with our tax director, so I can take that one on.
Switching those two.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem relinquishing the tax and finance portion or portfolio. I could definitely take on community action. I know there was a little dialogue about the personnel side. I'd like to hang on to that. For the reason I'm readily available pretty much all the time.
Okay.
And then one other ask for Mr. Zachmeyer is the Public Information Officer. Again, with my knowledge, my history, my past work experience, my profession working as the Public Information Officer for the Department of Emergency Services, setting up the Joint Information Centers, working hand in hand with media outreach for 40 plus years. Social media, all pieces involved, but if Mr. Zachmeyer would be willing to allow me to take that portfolio.
Yes, you can have it.
You want to put up a little extra fight on that one yet?
What's that?
If you want to put a little extra resistance on there.
Oh, no.
I support that as well. I've seen some of the information that Mr. Morel is putting out, and does a good job in keeping the public involved, social media wise.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I have a question. Is there a need to have more, I know Mr. Zachmeyer is not going to concur with me, but more than one person on personnel? And what the rest of the
Yeah,
board
well,
thinks?
we handle portfolios. To me, a portfolio is the main contact. So Don needs somebody to talk to about something going on. The portfolio holder is the first one he's going to go to. But we are a group of 5 that are supposed to work together, and if he should be able to come to any one of us. If Wendy has a personnel issue, she is going to come to the chair, whether whoever that is, plus the personnel portfolio holder. So it's kind of a, we're supposed to work together a little bit, but we got open records that we have to be cognizant of in that respect.
And Chairman, several years ago, we did have 2 people on that, and we decided against it because it was just easier to have one main contact person, and then depending on what department that the personnel issue lies in, Wendy can reach out to the portfolio holder of that department, and then you still have 2 if you need 2.
And a conversation with Wendy before this meeting also is, she will admit to every one of us is that her door is always open if there's ever a question or concern for anything with personnel.
So-
Mr. Chairman, did we move finance and taxation from Mr. Tokash to Mr. Morel? I'm behind on that
Yep.
one. Okay,
And then community action down to Commissioner Tokash.
okay.
And then where did the BM, what was it? BM?
Bismarck Manor Detention
Detention
Center
Center?
is both of them.
Correct.
There's 2 that, they need to have 2 on that. So both Commissioner Tokash and Commissioner Morel will be assigned to that one.
Okay,
And judicial goes off to Commissioner Zachmeyer.
okay. And then
Sure.
you're still willing to keep the library, correct?
Yep, I'll do
Okay.
the library.
Okay,
I have no
'Cause I
problem,
kinda-
I have no problem with any of mine. No, they're all fine. The state fair is the one that kind of got assigned to me because I had this county fair, and I haven't been able to attend that meeting, I don't think ever, in 4 years. So, if somebody else wanted to take that one, because they could run to Minot for that one meeting, it always falls right around that Cotton Pickin' Farm Bureau convention that I'm involved with. And then I'm gone for 4 days that week. It's always the same time. So if
Mr.
somebody else wants that one, I would gladly let them.
Mr. Chairman, I would really like to see Commissioner Buckley take that one if would be willing.
If you're willing to drive up to Minot. 'Cause it's always in Minot too, and it's,
yeah, they
It's
used
a-
to have it sometimes here if they had the fair convention here, but since North Dakota and South Dakota kind of have merged, or not kind of, they have merged, it's changed, so,
okay. But if you don't mind,
sure, I can do
we'll
that.
drop that one down to you.
She's very fair-minded.
I'm available for any of them, so it doesn't really, it's not a big deal. Anybody got my number, it's out there on the website. You
Yep.
can call me at any time.
Chairman Bain, we should consider what we want to do with Morton County Parks and Weed Board. There's some upcoming potential to share resources there, so we've got 3 people listed there. I would be more than happy to take that on.
And until we do what some of the discussion is, though, I think let's hold off, because we are by statute required to have 2 for the park. And we do want to have somebody for the weed board until we do anything, so some of the discussions pan out and where they go. We can decide at that time to switch those around. But
Because the weed
duly
board,
noted.
the weed board is distinctly identified in Century Code as well.
And so we still will have one there. If
Right.
they ever have a joint, then all of a sudden there's 3, because you got 1 and 2.
Right.
That's where, what you're saying is correct.
Just something to be aware of. It'll have,
Yep.
3 commissioners assigned to that portfolio or those portfolios.
If they have a joint meeting, yes.
But we would still have to we notice all of our pork board meetings anyways, because anytime there's two commissioners holding the same portfolio, it's an open meeting anyways, so we don't run into anything with open meetings law if there's, have a joint meeting, there's 3 there, because there's already 2 there anyway, so.
So, but yeah, we can, at any point, if somebody wants to make some adjustments here, or there's questions during the year, don't be afraid to bring it up, put it on the agenda. We can take a look at these at any point in time, so. Does anybody have anything else in here?
How about we just do a cursory rundown, just make sure for the record that it just reflects, so what I have noted, and let me know if we're correct. Commissioner Boehm has Emergency Management, Morton County Parks, NDSU Extension, Morton Mandan Public Library, Morton County Fair, Legislation, which we all take a part in.
You guys, everybody better pay attention this year with taxes.
Yes.
If there's something that comes up, I can't listen to all of it.
Bismarck Mandan Chamber Economic Development. Commissioner Buckley has Roads and Bridges, Morton County Planning and Zoning, Three Rivers Human Service Zone, Western Plains Public Health, State's Attorney, the State Fair, and the Lewis and Clark Development Council. Commissioner Zachmeyer has Courthouse and Judicial, Morton County Water Resource District, Lower Hart River Water Resource District. Also shares Morton County Planning and Zoning, serves on the City of Mandan Planning and Zoning, Bismarck Mandan Metro Planning, Metropolitan Planning Organization, Morton County Policy Manual, and Commissioner Morrell has the Sheriff, the Finance, Taxation, and Tax Office, Veteran Services, also serves Morton County Parks, Cemeteries, which is part of Morton County Parks, Morton County Historical Society, Information Technology, Public Information Officer, Council of the Aging, Mandan Progress Organization, and Mandan Morton Community Fund, which is stemmed off from the Progress Organization, and the Bismarck Burley Morton Detention Center.
Finance and taxation.
Yes, I mentioned.
Did you have that one?
Yep. Commissioner Tokash has Roads and Bridges as well. Morton County Weed Board, Personnel, Morton County Superintendent of Schools, Morton County Housing Authority, Community Action, and also sits on the Burley Morton Detention Center.
Did you say judicial?
Commissioner Zachmeyer has that when I mentioned the courthouse, yep.
The courthouse and judicial?
Correct.
Okay. You were talking faster than I could write. That all makes sense to everybody? Do we need consensus or do we need a motion? I think we just need consensus. Everybody under agreement with those? I don't think we need a motion because these can be changed at any time.
Right.
You good? Commissioner Zachmeyer? Okay. Seeing no dissent,
Yeah.
we will move on. Thank you. First up, third on our agenda will be Mr. LaFleur. We have a few abatements for consideration.
Just a few of them again tonight. So the first one up is abatement 6664. This is for the city of Mandan. It is a veterans credit. This is one where their percentage changed. So they did it in 23 and 24, but they hadn't paid 24, so we were able to just rebill that. So the only one we need to go back and catch for that percentage change is 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve abatement number 6664 for a veterans credit for 2023 in the city of Mandan.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6664 for the city of Mandan in 2023 for veterans credit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oops, we all should vote aye, sorry.
Go back to aye. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. It was 1-0 there.
Okay, next one up is abatements 6666 and 6667. Be very careful saying those numbers. These are for one mobile home for years 23 and 24 to add a homestead credit.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve abatement number 6666 and 6667 for homestead tax credit abatement on mobile homes in Mandan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6666, 6647 for the years 2023 and 2024 for homestead abatement in Mandan. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6668. This is for the city of Mandan. It's a homestead credit for 2024.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve abatement number 6668 for a homestead credit for 2024 for the city of Mandan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6668 for 2024 homestead abatement for the city of Mandan. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one's up are abatements 6669 and 6670. These are homestead credit abatements for Morton County. They're both for 2024.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve abatement number 6669 and 6670 for homestead tax credit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6669 and 6670 for 2024 homestead abatement in the city of Mandan. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6671. This is for the Mandan Airport, for kind of their main hangar slash pilot's lounge. This is to abate off the portion that is used exclusively by the airport. They do rent out some rooms on the second floor for use by the public, so they would still pay taxes on that portion. But the part that's used exclusively by the airport as a tax exempt entity, since they're part of the city of Mandan, would be tax exempt, so. And I've included a couple pictures of the hangar in case you haven't been out to the airport.
Mr. Chair, just a question for Don. Did this come through last year, previous years too? I don't remember it.
No, prior years, they did not own the building, they rented it. But now they have purchased this building and the 3 adjoining hangars.
Okay.
2 of them, the middle 2 are owned by a company that's in Mandan here. This one and the outer hangar are both owned by the Mandan Airport. However, that outer hangar, they do rent that out so that it would still be taxed.
Great.
Never been in there, have you?
No, the meeting room in there.
It's pretty small though.
Is it?
This is our bowling place.
place,
And so it's much nicer than the little old hangar, lounge. I don't know if any of you were ever in that old lounge, but it's teeny tiny.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve abatement number 6671 for the Mandan Airport Pilots Lounge, tax exempt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6671. Get it right here. For abatement for exemption for property belonging to a political subdivision. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
That's all. Appreciate you guys looking through them. We don't have so many questions then. Makes it go quicker. All right, moving on. Mr. Lingle. We have a request for out-of-state travel.
That is correct. Sorry, been running up and downstairs. Got a jury trial going on, so a couple questions from the jurors that I had to help deal with. So, Commissioners, the request in this instance is similar to the requests made last year to allow the ASAs to travel to Alabama for training. Is just to cover workforce safety. We have enough in our budget to cover ASA Klein's transport and hotel costs for the Rise 25 drug conference down in Florida. Following ASA Richard's departure to become referee Richard, the drug court judge selected Mr. Klein to represent Morton County, a decision I wholeheartedly agree with, and having only been there a couple weeks already, it sounds like he's doing fantastically. So the hope is by going to this conference, he will continue to develop skills that serve not only Morton County, but the entire South Central Judicial District in his role on the drug court team. In the same way that ASA Richard brought back skills and knowledge and training that she shared with the rest of the office. So we would ask the commission to approve it just so that it is covered under other duties as assigned in case, God forbid, he sprain an ankle or trip or get hit by a bus or any of that. Hopefully by putting that out there it doesn't happen, but
Hurricane season, I think, is over, isn't it?
I think so. But it's Florida.
At that point in time? Yeah.
So any questions at this time?
Commissioners have any questions? I think John is
And just
here.
to clarify, we're talking $795?
The $795, I included the financial impact on here, but the financial impact is coming out of our budget. We're not asking for anything from the commission outside of our already established budget for trainings.
Okay.
I just didn't want Dawn to get mad at me for not putting a financial impact and then seeing later that there's money coming out of our budget for something.
She wouldn't do that, would she?
I mean, maybe.
Never know.
If I don't get a tax, if there's tax and it shouldn't have been, then I gotta call Best Buy and it's a whole thing.
So,
Not that
Mr. Chairman, Chase, is the $795 just for registration? Or does that cover the airline?
My understanding is that the $795 is for hotel and registration.
Okay.
We still have to determine the costs for travel. However, as I'm sure the commission is aware, we did bulk up our out-of-state travel budget on the assumption that we would be attending more out-of-state conferences as new specialty courts are being developed. For example, by the end of this year, we'll have a mental health specialty court as well. So,
Commissioner Chairman, I do appreciate the financial or the fiscal impact. It would help me going forward even if we don't have a hard cost because we haven't booked the airline tickets yet, but just an estimated, overall.
yeah,
So,
yes, I can make sure we have those going forward as well. I did speak with the judge in charge of the drug court, and she is requesting that he attend and encouraging his attendance as well.
Yep.
Because there should be also an estimate for meals. I don't know if the registration includes all meals,
So
not always.
I'm still working with drug court to determine what exactly is recuperated. Some of it is covered by the drug court grant for trainings, some of it is
Don't know
not.
what yet.
So still working to exactly balance that out. But again, we've worked into our budget. Out-of-state travel, ASA Richard attended last year, and our budgets for each of those items has not decreased. So it's covered in our budget, and if for some reason we weren't able to cover it, if there was some exorbitant expense, we could reconsider whether or not he travel. This is just request from the commission to approve him for out-of-state travel.
So that way he's figured into WSI and all that. Yep.
Correct. Yep.
And we need to let
this-
them get that permission so that they can get those plane tickets
Right.
before they get real expensive, so.
Mr. Chair, and Commissioner Buckley, Commissioner Tokash, on the Rise 25 flyer, go to page 2 towards the bottom of the table. The $795 is conference registration for members of the organization.
I saw
Okay.
that.
Then, of course, you got your flight, which is independent. You have your lodging, which is independent, and normal Uber, transportation, taxi, whatever. We all know how that goes. But then food per diem, based on IRS per diem rate, that's identified here, depending on the actual location of the jurisdiction. Kissimmee, I think, is in Orange County.
Yes.
I think that's in Orange County, so you're on IRS GSA rate of $80 for that,
Right.
that metro area. So again, that's all dollars that'll be identified. Again, knowing that dollars are already budgeted in the state's attorney's budget for travel, and knowing that, again, this conference registration is $795, because the question was earlier if it included this, that, or the other. No, it's just for the registration.
Yep.
So that being said, that's $795 and the authorization for the out-of-state travel, so they can go ahead and continue with their further reservations or bookings that's needed.
Yep.
That be correct?
Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve out-of-state travel for Attorney Klein to Kissimmee, Florida to attend the Rise 25 conference in May 28 through May 31.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the out-of-state travel for Assistant State's Attorney Klein to attend the Rise 25 conference from May 28th through May 31st, 2025 in Kissimmee, Florida. Is there any discussion? You're trying to second it?
Yep,
Okay.
that's okay.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chase.
Sorry if I have to duck out.
No, that's all right. All right, Patrick.
Good evening, Commissioners. I come before you tonight to notify you that we did receive our grant approved by the state for Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program. Ultimately, will allow us to renew our multi-hazard mitigation plan. So we're looking for approval of the local cost share. So just to give you a little bit of background, so FEMA requires our multi-hazard mitigation plan to be renewed every 5 years. The current plan expires in December of this year. So a current and improved plan will be beneficial for two main reasons. Number one, it allows us to, as a county, to be eligible for federal grants for the next 5-year period. But more importantly, as it relates to our multi-hazard mitigation plan, it allows us to assess risk throughout the county. Once those risks are identified, we then look at plans and projects to mitigate those risks so that we minimize loss to humans, property, and critical infrastructure ultimately, just to name a few of those during disasters. The grant basically pays for the contractor fees associated with the plan's development. Your emergency management staff will be working with the contractor, our local first responders, our public and private stakeholders to complete that plan so that it is ultimately relevant for Morton County specifically. I have a few attachments in your agenda packets. I guess I would like to direct your attention to attachment A within the BRIC grant document, where it signifies our local cost share of $13,910. So the total project, $55,640. Of that, 75% is federally funded, and or like I said, our local cost share is 25%. Now that number, if you commissioners that were here in 2020, if you remember, the contractor, that number actually probably will be reduced by what we call in-kind donation. It's basically the work that your emergency management staff do to assist the contractor in completion of the plan, as well as community participation. They have a figure that, or the contractor has a figure that he comes up with, and to calculate that in-kind donation, they call it. So I don't have that figure, obviously, because it'll be at the end of the plan, but I can come back before you with that. The other attachment, we have our timeline that we've developed. So you'll see, and most of you probably remember, it's a pretty extensive plan, and it involves, like I said before, the community stakeholders, where we get the information from, what their concerns are, and then we ultimately develop that plan. So we have it quarterly, laid out quarterly as far as our timeline goes. We've accomplished most of our first quarter at this point, actually already. We're looking at scheduling our meetings and advertising those meetings. So those meetings, those community meetings, will be over the course of these winter months, spring, and probably into the early summer months. So once we've gathered that input from those stakeholders, we'll take a look at finalizing those risk assessments, prioritizing any projects, and integrating any of that information into our local plans, like our local emergency operations plan or our integrated preparedness plans. And then once that's finalized, we move it up to the state for approval. In November is our goal. Once the state approves it, then it's moved to Region 8 FEMA for their approval. And like I said, we hope to have that done by the end of the month, or the end of the year. So if there's any questions, I'll stand for that.
Mr. Chair, obviously you have the emergency management portfolio, but myself being former state hazard mitigation officer, where I oversaw the development of mitigation plans, I fully understand the need for this. And for the general public that's out there, the current mitigation plan is on our website. If they were to search Morton County mitigation, Morton County hazard mitigation, will pull you right to the page itself. So the document itself is based off of that platform and just updating it based on new identified hazards, new identified, yep, there it is. New identified stakeholders, identified risk reduction that can reduce the impacts of these disasters, these impacts. So it's a very important tool, as Patrick had stated.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Morrell. Yeah, it's very comprehensive plan, as you can see here, and it's a driving tool strategically for our program, and very important, I guess, for moving forward in the next 5 years, especially for the opportunity for grants.
This will be the first one you This will be the first one you have to develop.
Yes, yes. Looking forward to it.
So are you asking for a motion, Patrick, or is it just, do we need a,
Is it in your
Sure.
budget?
Well, that's a good question. I have to admit, I overlooked it in our budget planning. So when I got notice, I went up and talked to Auditor Roan, and she said we'll be able to make that happen.
We have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the general fund, and so, I mean, the general fund is quite large, so I don't think the general fund has maybe gone over once in the last 14 years or budget, so I think we can find room in the general fund
Okay.
for it.
so we need a motion probably to meet the match, correct?
It's cost share.
Correct.
The co-
Approve the local cost share.
Yep,
Yep.
approved local cost share.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move that Morton County meet the local match of 25% for the amount of $13,910.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the local cost share for the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify
Yep.
that the 13,910 is that 25%.
Yep. Any other discussion? Any discussion? Pulling this out of the general, we should do a roll call.
Yes.
Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Buckley,
Yes,
Commissioner Zachmeyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Tokash,
Yes.
Commissioner Morel,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Motion carries. That's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right. Last item on the agenda here. Auditor Roan.
So at our last meeting, you'll remember we had a vacancy on the weed board for which we did not have any applicants, and so we have since received an application for the Mandan area on the weed board, and the application is in your packet from Joshua Stasny.
Cody, have anything to say? He is. You guys haven't met yet, right?
Does the scheduling for week one meetings work?
I guess I'm not fully aware of the scheduling, but right now,
Do you have like a day job?
I'm currently farming with my father, so if there's anything that arises, I should have no issue with that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's our typical,
Yep.
like, weed board is farmers, so that should work.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess we just send that, so I came to this meeting.
Yeah.
You guys will have to get together after we're done. Commissioners have any questions? Josh is here if you have a question for him.
well, Cody, will he have the opportunity to go to the state meeting then? Isn't that coming up?
Be invited, that's February 4th, 4th to 6th. That would be real good.
Sure.
Okay.
Good deal. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, just acknowledge that I've had email back and forth with Mr. Stasny, and he's just excited to be able to serve a new element within Morton County for himself and be part of the community, so he's looking forward to that opportunity to serve. So thank you.
And thanks for coming tonight.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion and we approve Josh Stasny to fill a 4-year term on the Morton County Weed Board representing District 4 in Mandan area. Term expiring in 2028.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Josh Stasny, Josh Stasny for the Morton County Weed Board appointment, 4-year term expiring 8/1 of 2028 for the District 4 Mandan area. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. not very loud. All right. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the order?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Zachner?
the chairs, I think, are pretty well shot at the table up here. The hydraulics, I think, are formally out of mine. And I think we gotta replace the chairs.
Okay.
Do we have it in the budget?
Oh, look.
We just,
Yeah, this one's new, so
Yeah.
just leave mine
we
alone.
just expended a few extra for mitigation plans, so.
Yeah.
And mine's good. Mine's about 15 years old and I brought it myself.
Chairs can be a very personal thing, I know that, so, I'm fine with mine.
The upholstery is not good on mine, and the hydraulics are not good anymore either.
Okay.
One at a time, they'll all go.
Just one other thing to add, and then, and again, Commissioner Bame, you mentioned about it earlier with legislation, but of course, our session has began. And with that, there's a number of course, the governor's initiative, in his State of the State address, where he put forth his legislative initiative to include a few ideas on property taxes. We all understand that property taxes are a major concern for all of us. So behoove us as commissioners, but also our citizens to monitor, to keep in touch with our legislators, to reach out to any of us for any questions or impacts or whatever the case may be. But yes, we all have that due diligence to monitor and keep in touch.
Absolutely.
I'm a bit concerned, Mr. Chairman, about the cap thing that they've mentioned. I don't know if that's probably gonna go through, but
Right.
there's lots of things that are coming up that,
I've not logged in yet, talk later, but I've not logged in yet to see what bills are registered, what number, how
There
many,
was-
what categories, and so on and so on.
There's a whole bunch of them on property tax, and
Yep.
I know sitting in one meeting with some legislators, somebody asked him what he was thinking, and he's like, I ain't gonna show you my hand before we even start.
Right.
I mean, they want to get in there and throw things around and discuss things before you're gonna start seeing some plans, and some of those won't come until
The last day.
till crossover. You'll see
Yep.
a lot of it at crossover, and then the final, so.
End up in conference committee and everything else.
Yeah, a long ways to go, but it behooves all of us to keep in tune with it. Does anyone have anything else good for the good of the order?
move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. We are adjourned.